I guess we're gonna call this the Peptide Price Community podcast. The main goal of this is just to get people on from the community and share some other experiences in the peptide space besides, I'm sure everybody's sick of hearing me talk 18 posts a day of, random peptide stacks and little tips and tricks and stuff like that. But I think the real value is like hearing other people's experiences, how they got in the space, because there's so many, different levers and stuff you can pull with peptides and, how it integrates into everybody's life. So today we have John on. If you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do, maybe how you found the peptide space, and then maybe how you found the community, because I know you've been in there for quite a bit.
My name is John. I'm the owner of Tac Nutrition. I've been doing that about 6 years this year. Started in the middle of
Nice.
COVID in 2020. I had this bright idea and kind of run with it. It's not big, it's not nothing great, but it's mine and I love it. And it's based on weight loss transformations, what I used to be.
Yeah.
Um, if any of you find my website, it's tacnutrition.com. It shows my before and after pictures. I used to weigh 300 pounds in 2016, long before I knew what a peptide was.
Hmm.
I lost my weight the old fashioned way, counting macros, hard times in the gym, and lots of cardio.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of had I guess you call it epiphany moment with my youngest daughter. I couldn't tie a pair of tennis shoes because my gut was in the way, and she offered to tie them for me.
Wow.
If anybody's a parent, that hits you hard. So I made a life changing decision that day and never looked back, never stopped. 10 years later, this year, 10 years this year, as a matter of fact, damn, that's crazy.
Wow.
10 years
Yeah.
this year. I've built a training company. Again, not huge, but it's mine. Um, I do have a full-time job as a maintenance mechanic in a chemical plant. I drove trucks for 20 years, cross country, all over the place.
Hmm.
Owned my own trucks for 19 years. And during that time when I got big and heavy, life took over, things happened. I was in the military for 4 years in the Navy. So I knew what fitness and being in shape was. I just kind of let myself go, no excuse, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Um, and I started actually competing in bodybuilding shows in 2018.
Okay.
And it took me 7 years and 9 shows, and I finally turned pro in the Masters Men's Beach Body Division 2 years ago.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
that's my other claim to fame. I am currently 50 years old. I'll be 51 in July of this year.
Hmm.
I am probably in better shape now than I was in my 20s, and I don't regret a minute of it. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money on this, like anybody else that does this does, but
Yeah.
I don't regret it. I have the most supportive wife of almost 30 years. I've been married to the same woman since I was 20. I have two grown children. I have a grandson. It's 8.
Hmm.
Um, and I love it. And peptides. Now,
Yeah.
I delved into peptides the first time about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And not knowing what I was doing, I was clueless. There was none of this, it wasn't a big thing on social media like it is now.
Just
Not
no
even close. I
information.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, none. Um, I did what most people do. I Googled it. I ain't gonna lie to you a bit. I started reading what I could find, which wasn't much at the time.
Oh.
I didn't know where to actually look to find what I needed to know. And even back then, the one that kept popping up was a BPC TB,
Yeah.
and I had at the time I had a lat injury. And I read all I could about it. It's okay, it's what I need. Well, unbeknownst to me, I went about it the wrong approach and I bought the pills.
Uh,
And I wasn't really sure about how to buy them. I just bought what I thought looked legit, and turns out it was not. First mistake.
yeah.
Second mistake was not knowing about testing, COAs. Didn't know peptides were even injectable at that point.
Yeah.
Had no idea. I was completely clueless. Um, had a bad experience, so I backed off for several months.
Hmm.
Got back into researching them again, only reading everything I could find back in sometime in 23, I think it
Yeah.
was. And somewhere along that time frame, I run into, I guess I can say his name, Hack Smith.
Mhm. Yeah.
I run across JT,
Yeah.
and then I run across you. And for some reason, I was drawn to what you had to say. And that's when I started. That's before you started getting banned on the TikTok every freaking week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I find your page and like it, follow it, I'd have to find it again. I'm like, this dude's going through TikTok. I can go through socks.
Yeah.
But it got to be a problem to keep up with you. Well, then you created, this school came around. I got on school. I got on Telegram, got on Discord, got on WhatsApp. I started
Mhm.
just learning everything I could about peptides. I mean, I learned everything there was to learn that I could come
Yeah.
up with. I pulled from probably 30 different sources, you included.
Yeah.
That's before you built your big school community. That's when everything was still on TikTok and you didn't have your Substack,
Yeah.
your own your other one you have. I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, there's so many
Oh,
alternate like you were saying, the TikToks, I went through 10 of them. 10 of them got banned and now I have four of them that are still up, which, it's a game of musical chairs on what gets
oh
banned,
God, I
what
know it.
doesn't, which is part of the education problem, right? It's like you can't, you can put out this information, but then TikTok will, cut it off, ban it so people don't get everything, or,
Mm.
that's their guidelines of whatever they want to do in general. But that was like I was like, okay, we're gonna pivot because school was supposed to be, this inclusive platform. You can do post, you as long as it's private, you can post whatever you want for the research side of it. And it's like you can't get everything across in a 60-second video. You know what I mean? 60-second video or 3 minutes. You can get the general idea, but to actually like go in depth, everybody doesn't discuss the potential side effects, all the other stuff, like what, timelines, everybody's different, that type of thing. So I was like, okay, school makes sense. So I remember like right around that time, those 10 bands came across. I was like, all right, I'm completely changing my strategy. Like I still have the price tool and everything, but we're going to push everybody to school because that way, like one spot, consolidate everything. And then a couple months ago, I think school, like, I don't know what the situation is. They basically told us like, hey, we don't want like you guys are research peptides. You can't be talking about like anything that peptides actually do, which defeats the purpose of the education aspect, right? So that's where that private community popped up. It's like
And and
community.peptideprice.store.
and now schools advertising for peptide
Yeah.
creators and content creators to come on back to school because I think they realized what they were losing,
Yeah. No,
is what I personally think.
I think they saw some big communities. There's a lot of good peptide communities out there.
Yes.
I think JT just started one too, which is cool.
Yep.
There's Hacky has a huge one. In general, there's so many good creators on there, and that's where we all
Mm.
kind of defaulted to. So I think they looked at all that, and then the community response when that happened. Like I remember that post, whatever I put out was like, "Hey, we're like pivoting," because I tried to switch that all in a weekend. My parents were actually here visiting, and they're like, "Hey, like you got 2 days, and we're banning your school." And I was like, "What do I do here?" And then
Oh,
I
I
basically
remember
I
when you
tried to
started your
fight.
school. I joined it within the first day or two of you opening it. I
Yeah.
joined it and I found several others. I was already part of some of them already. So it was easy to
Hmm.
get to yours. Just had to go in there and just join it. And next thing I know, you were posting about having to leave and create your own thing overseas. I was like, what the hell keeps happening to this poor kid, man? This guy can't catch a
Yeah.
freaking break.
It's been a like I said, musical chairs of the price
Oh
tools
God.
went down. This is went down. Honestly, from that aspect, I'm like keeping school for as long as it's good for. I'm keeping the private community because that's hosted overseas. So if that ever gets taken down, that's a completely different issue. But
Right.
it's I think there needs to be a spot where you can like my whole goal is just to make like a resource community where you can search up, get an idea of any peptide or any issue, like any issues or frequently asked questions that pop up. You just type that in the search and you get something. You know what I mean? Not like it
I
was
wish,
2022, 2023, where there's, you can
yeah,
only find these videos that half explain something if anybody's even posted about it. Or
you
yeah,
got people that like me that don't know anything about it wind up in the shape I was in. I bought something that I thought was good and effective
mm,
and got zero results out of it because it was one, probably dosed wrong, probably wasn't
yeah,
good stuff to begin with, and two was the wrong way to use it. I
hmm,
mean, yeah, we know it helps the gut, but I need it for an injury. I mean, it was
yeah,
complete different. There's a complete different effect, the oral versus the injectable. You know that for a lot of them.
yeah.
Like the nasal versus injectable, there's different forms for all of them. It depends on
And
what your needs are.
what you're trying to, what your needs are and what you're in general, like I know back, 2022, 2023, like even the evolution of the research space, like even the last 6 months, like so much stuff has changed from the testing aspect of it, of
Yes.
you don't know how many companies I talk to that get a BPC or TB500, the purity's off or it tests. Like it happens all the time. I know we're both part of Peptira, right? Like even Ben has to hold like products back because like it doesn't test to 98% purity or it's like not, in there, but we
Well,
didn't
look
have
what.
even a COA back then.
Nope. That was my whole. That was what I was saying back in 20 when the first end of 22, first 23 when I first bought the Wolverine stack. Now
Yeah.
there was no such thing as a C of A. You just bought and hoped the bottle was worth what you paid for it. And I paid $130 for that bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid a lot of money for it, and it didn't do squat for me. And you
Mhm.
mentioned Ben. I mean, to prove a point about a good company,
Yeah.
his glutathione shipment that came in, it was on. He sold 39 orders up, had to pull it all back
Yep.
because it kept messing up when people started trying to reconstitute it. It kept messing up.
Yeah.
To me, that not only shows Ben actually cares and Peptira cares, but that also
Yep.
shows me that they pay attention, listen to their people, to their customers. Somebody,
Yeah.
if more than one person's got to complain about something, there's a problem. Especially
Hmm.
if it's the same product, there's a problem. And they didn't waste any time making it right and stopping the sale of it because they knew they had to protect their reputation, their business, and their customers.
Yeah.
And to me, I run across this. I know you have because you've talked about it before.
Hmm.
There's so many companies out there that start up, get a few C of A's printed up, however they get them,
Yeah.
and you wonder if everything's been tested or not.
Yeah. They just
You
reuse
know,
them. That, yeah.
they don't have any standards, and
Yeah.
I have a problem with it. And I recently bought some glutathione and the reason I bought it is I wanted to have it tested
Hmm.
because I heard some good things about this particular company,
Yeah.
and it's a kind of a gray market type operation.
Yeah.
I mean, he does do testing, but I kind of had my doubts.
Yep.
Well, I bought an entire 10 kit glutathione from him, and I paid Chromate. I shipped it off and paid Chromate to have it tested. And luckily for me, it tested out 99.6 purity and was 1,212 milligrams, which is what 1,200 milligram vial.
Yeah.
And it tested good. So I got lucky. But had I discovered injectables 3 years ago and not done that, don't tell them what I've got
Yeah.
because I didn't know any better. And because, people like you built these big, massive communities and followings, JT, all
Hmm.
these companies, Peptira, Solution Peptides, Ion, gotta love Ion to death. They're great too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've stepped their game up with testing because people are starting to be more informed about it because there's, you know, you, JT, Hacksmith, God, there's so many more. I started doing that. I
Yeah.
got past being camera, started making videos that are bringing this
Hmm.
up to people. I was messaging a lady a while ago that bought some stuff from Peptera. Had no idea how to mix it, how to dose it, or nothing.
Yep.
So I had to send her the information that I have and said, "Look, you need to do your own research, but here's guidelines."
Hmm.
And the problem I have with that is how can somebody purchase something and not have any idea how to use it?
Yeah. Well, I know
I
when
understand you got to learn, but learn before you make the purchase. I think that's
for,
just my
for
point.
For sure. There's so many. It happens I mean, I see it probably more than anyone because, you get a new person in a comment section or even joins the community and they don't even look at anything. They first post, how do I reconstitute this? Like, and they'll use 5 milligrams of whatever. And I know when I first got in the space, it sounds like you did too. Like I mean, besides your first purchase, but like when you came back into the space, I did probably looked at peptides for 5 or 6 months before I even bought anything.
Easily.
I wanted to look at, all the possible side effects, how to reconstitute it, what I needed for the stuff, and like all the, like the whole thing, the Redditruitide thing popped up again. A lot of people, it blew my mind. Like when I first got into it, I was more on the, gym side of like the peptide stuff. So like first things I knew about Redditruitide before I even knew like a resource that I could go to get it was like, resting heart rate might increase if you like go up too much, like, the skin sensitivity, all that stuff. And like people don't even know about this stuff and they already have it in hand, which just blows my mind sometimes. It's like it's different personality types for sure of like more people are more, they're more risk adverse and they'll do as much research as they have to until they feel comfortable. And then some people are really eager just to get after it, click the buy button. That's where honestly some companies run into issues too, because these are research companies. They can't answer reconstitution questions. You know what I mean? Like there's a space in there, and I know like I just think it's so important. If you don't understand like all aspects of a particular peptide before you're even like looking at the prices of it or like going into it, you shouldn't be buying it. You know what I mean? I think you're the
Could
same
not
way with
agree more.
that. Yeah.
Could not agree more. And I run into this a lot, with my training clients. They're some of them
Mhm.
are they see my TikToks on my two pep accounts, which I had three. One of them got banned, by the way, for
Yeah.
no apparent reason. It was there 2 hours later, it was gone. So, anyways, that was
Yeah.
kind of funny. They messaged me, "Hey, what's this about? What's this about?" I said, "Okay, do yourself a favor before you ask me these questions. eh, Google it. As weird as that sounds, and I don't trust Google a lot, just Google it." I said, "Read through
Hmm.
some articles. Google the medical side of this stuff. There are medical studies on most all these peptides in some way, some form. They may be small, I have to dig for them, but you can find them."
Yeah.
I said, then come back and ask me, and I'll tell you what I think. Most of them come back to me and go, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Okay, you read the same thing I read. It's not like I have access to something you don't. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
you have the
How
same access that I have. You have to dig for it.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, even these people in the space, you, me, like everybody that's doing, educational content on the side, just because we've delved into, we're using Google as our primary resource and reading these studies, and you have
Of
to be
course,
able to pull, you were saying earlier, you pull from 30 different sources, and there's some ground truth in it. You know what I mean? There's something that correlates and, makes sense. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, obviously, but you have to be willing to
well,
go
of
out
course.
there. You got to be willing to go out there and get the general guidelines on stuff. I know like at this point with like the school community and all this stuff, a lot of times I already have something like written up. So when people ask the questions, I won't even respond to the thing. I'll say, read this first. And then if you still have questions, come back. Cause I'll literally just like link the post. They can read through that entire thing. And I think that's the way to do it. If you can't read like, first thing should always be a search. Then it should be a question after you've delved into two or three articles.
My wife, good Lord, my wife, my youngest daughter still is at home. She's 20.
Hmm.
Um, she, for the last, at least the last full year, probably more than that, probably close to a year and a half. I know the last year at least.
Yeah.
The first 6 months, first 6 or 8 months of that was nothing but just me. Every time I sat down in my chair or we stopped, I was Googling peptides of some sort. I mean, I Googled everything from the GLPs to the bioregulators, everything in between. I mean,
Yeah.
you name it, I've Googled it. I've looked at it. I've read something about just about every one of them. The main ones anyway, not every
Yeah.
one. There's so many that I don't even care about.
I, yep. I get so
But
many of those too. It's like, have you
I
heard of
just
this
look at
one?
them and go, "That's doesn't interest me, doesn't interest me." Oh, I like that one. Let me mark that one. And I've got a list in my phone that I have in my notes section of my phone of peptides that I've looked at and read about, and I've got stars by the ones that I read and nothing by the ones that I haven't read about.
Yeah.
So if I get some downtime, it's not as much as it used to be because I'm focused on, you know, learning more about the ones I do know about right now.
Yeah.
I'll add as I go along. I add one here and there, a little more, a little more every time. But it's funny. Look at my phone, and it's people go, "What is all this crap in your phone?" I mean, I've got things written up in there that I've saved, that I've put together, that I just send out to people that ask questions. Look, read this article first. Here, just
Hmm.
do yourself a favor, read this, and then you ask me your questions. But I can't understand why people don't do a little bit of research when something's going to go in your body, but yet they will do tons of research before they go to the gym,
Yep.
before they start eating, when they decide to make a nutrition plan change, or if they buy a supplement. They'll read every Google report about that thing. But you mentioned peptides, tell me how to take it.
Yeah.
I'm not your doctor.
No,
I
for
mean, I
sure.
can't be.
For sure. I wanted to jump into that a little bit because, you said you did it like 2016 was when you started your weight loss with everything. And probably I'm assuming the truck driving and that lifestyle contributed to it for sure,
Oh,
right?
100%.
But
100%, partner.
yeah, no, in general, that was the same thing. Like when I lost all my weight, I used to be like 250 at 5'10". That was my starting point with stuff. And that was before peptides, everything. I did it like, I think there's that group that did it all naturally. And like with that, we had to learn the training, the lifestyle, the cardio, getting through all of that. And, that itself is just delayed gratification of, nothing's going to happen for like you're not going to see anything at the start and then you'll see weight slowly falling off and then you hit those plateaus and you don't have many levers to pull, right? It's either you eat less food, you do more cardio, or you change some lifestyle factors. So I totally get that side of like doing it naturally, and I honestly think that's where it stems from too, of like doing the research to fix a problem first. Like, you have to try
I
it,
agree.
implement it, and wait.
Well, you think about when you did started your weight loss journey, you knew nothing about peptides. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I started my weight loss journey in 2016. You were probably still in high school.
Yeah. No.
You
No,
know, I mean,
because I
I'm
started
but
mine
just
like 2021 and that was like end of
but
high,
I'm
that
just
was
I
right
mean,
at
I'm
the
just
end.
that much older than most people. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm considered an old man in the peptide world these days. Most of the time, a lot of people standards, I'm an old man, which is fine. But
Hmm.
2016, I knew what nutrition was from the military in 94, 95, 96, 97.
Yeah.
Well, there's been like anything like technology, peptides, it changes,
Evolves.
almost monthly.
Yeah.
Every 6 months there's something new. So I had to sit down when I started losing my weight and reteach myself and learn all new things on the proper way to eat because, I grew up during Weight Watchers and Gene
Yeah.
Simmons and that kind of crap, that really
Yeah.
was pointless. So I had never in my life heard of counting macros. And at the time, my
Hmm.
wife had a coach, a friend of hers, that was a really good coach. She was actually pro a couple of different things,
Wow.
and she would come to the house and work with my wife. Well, I kept listening to her talk about this macro thing, and I said, I can do that. I can figure this shit out. So driving trucks, I'd get in sometimes 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, hell, my family be asleep. I'm not gonna wake them up. I'd give
Yeah.
me some food, sit in my chair, and I'd Google how to do macros. And that's how I started. I did the same thing with peptides. When I
Hmm.
finally figured out peptides were, what they were, I just sat down and started Googling it, just
Yeah.
reading and writing things down, putting it in my phone. I'd mark pages, mark websites, mark people. And I refer back to that from time to time until I learned all I could learn about these specific ones that I wanted to deal with.
Yeah.
I looked at the GLPs, the NAD, MOTS-C. I looked at the mitochondrial stuff, the weight loss stuff, and the growth peptides because I'm a bodybuilder. I mean, I want something that's going to help me, but
Yeah.
not necessarily be harmful to me.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm on testosterone replacement. I've been on it for 9 years.
Yep.
I'm one of them fortunate men that when I hit that certain age, it just said it checked out and left the building. I had no
Hmm.
choice, but I wanted something that was going to benefit me and not be the
Yeah.
detrimental side of everything.
Yeah, and I think
So
people have to weigh that out too. It's like I get a lot of whenever because notoriously like peptides for like muscle growth aren't like the best, and you mentioned like TRT and stuff.
mm,
I think there's a time and place even for peptides in a routine of where, you know, I think consistent blood work, consistent lab panels, stuff like that. Like you said, like your testosterone just plummeted when you hit like a certain age. Like you have to keep an eye on stuff, and obviously you can optimize as much as possible with the healthy lifestyle side, going to the gym, eating properly, and then really it's like peptides are peptides, or when it comes to a point of TRT, that's a lever to pull when you need it. You know what I mean? Like you probably,
right.
I don't know, were you getting consistent like lab work done before like that period where you got like back into like the weight loss side
When
or
I
no?
when I first started back in the gym, and I made like most people, I made mistakes. You
Yeah,
know, not knowing I made mistakes when I first started. My first and biggest mistake was I had that mindset. Okay, I'm going to lose weight, but I'm going to do nothing but cardio, and then I'll go to the gym. That's
yeah,
mistake number one.
yep,
I literally outwalked a Bowflex trade climber in my house. I got to where it wouldn't even keep. I couldn't. It wouldn't even keep up with me. I was walking so fast, so hard, it was wore out when I got done.
yeah,
And again, that went on for about probably 3.5, 4 months. And I realized something one day looking in the mirror. I had lost about a third of my muscle mass. I was
hmm,
losing weight, but about a third with muscle mass. And I just looked funny. I looked really odd. I
yeah,
mean, I'm damn near 6 foot tall. I'm a big guy. I'm a big bone person.
yeah,
So, and I could tell. So I knew something was off. And at the time, I had a really good family doctor I'd been seeing for 20 something, 20 for 20 years at that point.
hmm,
And went to him and he suggested, hey, let's test your testosterone and see where you're at. He said, because you shouldn't be losing this much muscle this fast.
yeah,
And I was 41, I think, 42.
wow,
I just started. So yeah, I was 42, I think. And my testosterone was 280.
wow.
It was my free was like 7.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just looked at me.
Anything.
He said, you got any issues? I went, nope. He goes, well, you probably should have. You're lucky. And I've been on TRT ever since. And my current clinic that I use now is online
Hmm.
because doctor I had, he passed away, and the doctor at his place, she doesn't believe in TRT. She thinks it's a joke.
Mm,
So I don't deal with her anymore.
yeah.
And I actually worked a partnership with a company online, and they treat me really well. They help me get where I want to be at, keep me where I want to be at. And my testosterone runs higher than most, but again, I
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah.
So I keep it a little high on purpose, but my body tolerates it.
Right.
But there's only so much you can do on TRT.
True.
You can only
Yeah.
build so much on it, even especially at my age.
Hmm.
Somebody your age get on higher dose of TRT, you're going to swell up because your body's just absorbs everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 50 years old. Things just don't grow like they used to grow anymore when I was in my 20s. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm still not in bad shape for a guy my age, don't get me wrong, but and that's when peptides came into play, roughly a year ago. And I started doing the research on them. I said, this is what I need in my life. I don't need HGH.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of that stuff. I've heard all the horror stories. I'm like, oh, I don't need that shit. And, I keep a prep coach year round. I've had the same prep coach for now, almost 9 years now for competition.
Yeah.
Um, and he's always, look, man, we got to find a way to make you grow. You're just not, you can't keep up with these guys. And I'm not saying peptides are going to make me, the next big thing, but I've run enough of these things to see the changes in myself and know what to look at and what to look for.
Yeah.
And the biggest change I've noticed for me on what I'm on right now, which is CGC IPA, and I did a round of IGF-1,
Hmm.
and I live on NAD and glutathione
Yeah.
because of the TRT.
Yep.
And the thing I've noticed is I did a show this past October and came in third, got my ass kicked,
Yeah.
my ass kicked. Um, but it was just you can't control who shows up. I look good,
Right.
but somebody better looking showed up, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
But from then till now, this is what I'm basing this on. Every year I do a show about the same time frame, around August or October time frame.
Yeah.
And we'll be October, November, December, January, 3 months, almost a little over 3 months from the show. Um, right now I am, of course, I'm holding water. I'm not leaned out
Yeah.
that dried up for the show. I'm about 7.5 pounds bigger, straight muscle,
Yeah.
but I'm 2% body fat less than I was this time last year without the peptides.
Yep. Yeah.
And right now, I just I'm split dose 1 milligram of Retta. I CGC Aqua 400 micrograms twice a day. I did 4 weeks of IGF-1. Come off of that because my
Mhm.
levels got kind of high.
Yeah.
Um, again, NAD, glutathione, KPV is my must because I stay inflamed for some reason or another all the damn time.
True. Yeah.
And then
Same.
I'm doing a Wolverine for my elbow right now because I tore a tendon in my elbow.
Hmm.
But to answer your previous question, I got sidetracked, which is bad on me. At the time, I wasn't getting a lot of blood work done. That was mistake number two I made.
Yeah.
I did blood work once a year on when I even on just plain TRT, and I was dosing once a week, sometimes twice a week, depending on how I had it set up.
Yep.
Again, started researching that, learned there was better ways to do it, and fast forward till now, I usually get blood work done at least 3 or 4 times a year. I try to, anyways. I
Hmm.
just had blood work done almost 12 weeks ago. It's about time to do it again.
Yeah.
When I get through with this, I'm gonna do it again, and my TRT is dosed daily.
Yeah. More
That was the
consistent
biggest change
levels.
I made. It's much more consistent. It's not near as much volume at one time.
Yeah.
You can actually do it. You can actually do it kind of a sub Q style that way with a smaller, shorter needle.
Yeah.
There's not as much volume. That was the game changer for me. I know that was the biggest thing, and then adding the peptides in when I finally found the correct way to get peptides, and the ins and outs of all of it. And again, I learned. I'm not going to sit here and kid you a bit. I learned a lot from you. I learned a whole lot from you because you have this research and writing stuff down to an exact science. I mean,
Appreciate it.
you put something on the school today. I can't remember what it was. Something about I don't forget. You posted so many things down in school. I can't remember what it was about.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't work. And I get to reading them things, and I get lost in what I'm reading because I'm focused. And
Hmm.
I look up and it's 30 minutes later. I'm like, the hell did time go? But
Yeah.
that's how involved in this I am. I'm I'm as involved as I can be with my job because
Hmm.
I work a full time job like you do, but
Yeah.
I don't have the free time I need to have be more involved.
Yeah.
but I'll make it work. It's just like my training company. I'll make it work. I do most of my training online through an app, and the reason for that is because I can't see people one on one.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to coach them through an app, and I have great success with it. I would love to have the money to be able to start an app for nothing but peptides.
Hmm.
If I had the money or somebody to back me with it, and somebody smart enough like you to help create it, I guarantee you I can make it work. I
Yeah.
can sell ice to an Eskimo if I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be a perfect car salesman if they weren't so sleazy.
Yeah.
But
No, I get
and I have
that.
a cousin that's a car salesman. I think it's a car salesman. I have a cousin that's a car salesman. He owns a huge car lot. But I just this is one of those things: fitness, training, strength building, weight loss transformations, peptides. They are like you. They become my passion. They consume everything about me.
Yeah.
And
People,
my wife will tell you this has gotten to be an obsession beyond.
hmm. No, it people don't realize like it's like when you jump into the research or you start reading and stuff, and for most people it's like, oh, like you're sitting down like studying something, or like you have to go through track all this stuff. It's not like that. It's literally just like you're so locked in and focused on like what you're reading and the new stuff. It's like some people like to go like watch Netflix or like do all this other stuff, and that's their entertainment. This is the peptide side is like entertainment to at least me when I'm doing this stuff. And all the everybody has their own takes on like certain peptides and stuff. There's some like ground truth to all of it, the backgrounds behind it, the what it's supposed to do in the system and everything. And then the cool part's actually researching it and then making your own conclusions from there. And I think for us guys that
100%.
went through a weight loss transformation, how much that changes like your life from that aspect without the peptides first, seeing them actually implemented. And like you were saying, you're off a show and you're right back, 7.5 pounds up, but like a little bit lower body fat percentage when they're implemented right. You know what I mean? With the other lifestyle factors, it's not just a single thing. You take it and you eat like shit, and your diet's all over the place. It's not going to do
Yep.
much for you, but you do it properly. That's where you see the really cool results. Where I was in the same place a year ago, like weight wise, but completely different result.
I don't tell people what I tell them because I'm trying to toot my own horn. I tell them what I tell them because it's what I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much, before I ever got a coach to compete, I lost close to 100 pounds all on my own
Yep.
without any kind of surgery, any kind of drugs. It was just strictly nutrition, workouts, and cardio.
Yep.
And you mentioned weight loss with peptides. I tell you a good example of that is Tyler.
Hmm. Yeah.
Tyler with Peptira isn't right where you're going to be at in Texas in a few days. The
Yeah.
dude is amazing with what he's done. I mean, he looks great, and he's just a great dude.
I'm hoping to do a
But
couple of videos,
there's
so they'll hopefully see. We're gonna
oh,
hopefully meet
there's
up.
yeah, Tyler. I've never met him in person, but he's cool to talk to.
It's
But you
awesome.
hear so many stories about people with their journeys for weight loss, and it may not involve peptides,
Yeah.
but I can talk about that as much as I can talk about peptides. I
Hmm.
know just as much about that. I don't know everything. I never claim to. I won't claim to. I mean, there's guys that
No.
know 10 times what I know about weight, strength training, and weight loss and nutrition. That's fine. They've probably been doing it 15, 20 years. I've been doing it, 10.
Hmm. And you
It's
always have
just,
to learn too. Like
and
even those
there's
guys
all,
will tell you
yes,
they don't know everything.
yes. There's always there's something new and improved, something to learn, something that's better.
Yeah.
You always want to be going forward, never backwards. It's like on your strength training or weight loss. You never want to go backwards, you want to go forward. Yeah, you're going to have peaks and valleys, ups and downs. You're going to have stalls. You may go 2 weeks without learning anything. But when you learn that one thing you've been bugging you, you're going to be happy. And
Yep.
this peptides are the same way. I've got ones I focus on primarily. I'm sure you do. You have your favorites.
Yep.
Everybody does. I mean, you can't have every one of them can't be a favorite. You'd have 14 refrigerators full of this stuff,
Yeah.
and you have $100,000 sitting in your house. But you have your favorites like I do. Somebody else
Hmm.
is made different than mine. Now there are the mainstream favorites. Retta, is obviously one of them.
Yeah.
NAD is another one. And some of the growth peptides. Testosterone's a big one.
That's
Everybody's
around.
hyped up on testosterone, which I personally don't see a lot of jazz about, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I mean, I
The
understand it has its benefits, but that's just me. I lean towards CJC for myself.
um
Again, that's just my personal preference.
and I think everybody's going to go through a period where they just research with a bunch of stuff, like they, just different phases, try
Yeah,
it out with all this different stuff, and then you find what works, and that's what you keep in long term. And like you said, we have our favorites, and once in a while you might read about a new one, maybe throw it in to a research like
I
protocol or whatever, and then you might decide it's not worth it anymore.
I've just did that very same thing with AOD.
Yeah.
I bought some. I've had it for a good while now. I come off the Reddit for a little bit just because I was on like a point 0.5 twice a week. I was on a very low dose just for the insulin.
Yeah.
Like, when this vial runs out, I'm going to throw the AOD in and see how it works. Been about a week. I just told my wife before you and I got on this call together that the
Mhm.
Reddit may have to come back because I'm starting to get too damn hungry
Yeah.
and I worked too hard to get where I'm at. I'm not sure, but I'm going to give the LD a fair shot. I'm going to give it a full run and see what happens. But
Hmm.
so far, it's not impressing me. And
That
it's
happens.
everybody's
Yeah.
going to have, like you said, everybody's going to have that where something they're going to take something, try it, and they're going to, never doing that shit again.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think the most important part of that process is like, the bodybuilding lifestyle you're documenting, you're looking at your strength, you're looking at your overall physique and stuff, but people can't throw nine different things in at once and know what's happening, especially if they're overlapping. Like I always say, you got to wait at least like ideally at least like 4 weeks if you can get to 6 weeks. Sometimes it's like a 2 week period, sometimes that just happens. But in general, like don't stack things that are going to overload like one receptor. Or you're, trying to get too much out of, get the most results out of the least possible peptide because that way
I
you know what's
agree,
effective, less side effects overall.
100% agree. I had a lady last weekend, and I have my own Telegram group. It's not big.
Yeah.
It's got like 35 people in it, but it's mine. I started
Yeah.
it not long ago, and she joined the group on a recommendation of a friend, and she sent me what she was going to take. I looked at it and kind of giggled at first, and my
Hmm.
daughter was like, "Dad, what's so funny?" I said, "Well, if I sent you a list of 13 things I want to start taking for the very first time and never have poked myself in my life, what would you do?" She said, "I would ask you if you're nuts."
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask the lady that. I said, "Ma'am, what is your one main goal?" Because she had two different growth peptides on there.
Yep.
She had three different mitochondrial peptides on there, Slink, Samax, Retta, and TERS. And I said, "Are you going to take?" I said, "One." She said, "I bought all of that. I want to take all of this." I said, "Ma'am, let's back up and regroup here, please.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. Pick what's your one goal?" And her one goal was to lose 60 pounds first. I said, "Okay, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that alone." Well, once I went through this was like 35 messages in my
Yep.
Telegram group. And I don't type. I'm not a typer. It takes forever to type a freaking message. And finally, I made a quick video. I said, "Look, here's the deal." I laid it all out for her. She messaged me back. She said, "I wish I had been explained. That had been explained to me from the person I originally talked to that told me to buy all this." I said, "Somebody told you to buy all that at one time?" She said, "Yeah, that's what he told me." And I said, "I don't want to know his name because I don't care. That's
Yeah.
just dumb. That is completely insane. That is literally the definition of insanity. I mean, that's insane, lady." I said, "Start with this, maybe add in this." I said, pick one of the GLPs, retatrutide or tirzepatide. Don't matter which one, pick one. I
Yeah.
have good things to say about both of them. I said, the only other thing I'll tell you to maybe add in maybe the NAD and or the MOTC, maybe. I
Yeah.
said, but
Later
start
on.
with
Late.
one. I
Yeah.
said, but start with one first and then give it 4 to 6 weeks and then see how you feel. She
Yeah.
messaged me Friday. She said, "I'm so glad I listened to you." I said, "Okay, do tell." She said, "I've already lost 6 pounds." She said, "And I had to back my Retta dose back down because my skin was crawling off of me." I said,
Hmm.
"That's one of the side effects I warned you about." She said, "Yes, you did. That's why I knew what to do." I said, "See, the other person you talked to didn't tell you none of that." She said, "He didn't tell me nothing." And I still don't know who it was, don't care.
Yeah.
But that goes back to what we talked about earlier about people being uninformed, just throwing shit out to somebody and here, hope for the best.
Hmm.
I have a feeling it was some Discord group
Yeah.
about things she was saying
Hmm.
and not knocking Discord groups. Most of them, some of them are pretty good. But you know as well as I do, there's people out there just here to make a buck and be gone. And
Yeah.
I got a feeling that's what it was.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of my gripe with
here,
the whole like push like that. That's why like I get it, like social media and stuff like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. You can get 60-second a point across or whatever, and they're all the videos that do well are, oh, this stack for weight loss, this stack for whatever. And then I get the questions like even in school, it's like, oh, what can I stack with my Retta? What can I stack with this? And I was like, what's currently going on? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? What are you trying to add in? Like, have you stalled? And they're like, no, I just want to add something. And I was like, but if your only goal is weight loss, your energy's great, your diet's on point, you're still having that food noise suppression overall, why not just stick it out? Try to get the most. There's so many people in the bodybuilding industry. They'll get lean as hell with with no like yeah maybe a couple fat burners and stimulants and stuff like that. It or there's natural guys that do it without a Retta or without a TERS. You don't have to add something all the time or stick stick with the least effective dose until you really stall out for a good period until you need something. It's a lever to pull. It doesn't have to get pulled if you don't need it.
My first general advice to people on that, and this is going to be the nutrition side of it, and you've probably done, I know you've probably done the same thing because
Yeah.
you've lived the change yourself. I was in a group a couple of weeks ago on Facebook,
Hmm.
and she had hit a stall, and people were saying, up your dose, up your dose. She was like 2 milligrams. They said, go to 4. I promised her, I said, ma'am, please talk to me. Don't listen to these idiots.
Yeah.
She said, what is your recommendation? I said, first off, let's take a look at your diet. Let's look at your water intake, your electrolytes. Let's make a nutritional adjustment here, or assessment at the very least, and see. I said, give me your daily rundown of 3 days of eating for you.
Yeah.
She sent it real quick. She tracked her food. I looked at it. I said, okay, here's what I suggest you change. Move this to here, take this away, put this in its place. And where's your electrolyte? She goes, what is that? I said, bingo.
Yeah.
She said, I drink four or five glasses of water a day. I said, bingo number 2. I said,
Not
ma'am, you
enough.
cannot run Reddit and not put electrolytes in your body and drink more water. She got back in that same group a week later, and she made it very publicly known that those people are kind of dumb. Her
Yeah.
words, not mine. She said, this John guy, she said, fixed my whole problem. I've lost 4.5 more pounds in 2 weeks, and I hadn't changed a 1 ounce of milligram in my dose. She said,
Yeah.
I'm still losing weight. She said, y'all need to adjust your food and lifestyle first before you up dose. And that's the whole point. You don't always have to, like you said, pull that lever,
Hmm.
to increase the milligrams, because that's not always the proper fix. That may make things worse,
A hundred
because I've
percent.
seen it make things worse. I've seen people make dietary changes thinking they're doing the right thing and make it worse. Want to like add more cardio is a good one. People say, I
Yeah.
got to add more cardio. People got to understand cardio doesn't necessarily burn fat.
Yeah.
Cardio is just what it states, cardios for your cardiovascular system. Yeah, does it help aid in fat loss? It can.
Mhm.
It can a lot.
Could make you
But
more hungry too.
is it right? Is it the go-to tool
Yeah.
when things don't work right? No, don't do that. The other thing I see people do in weight loss when they involving cardio is they want to run. You ever seen it? You ever seen an in shape runner other than he can run forever?
Mm.
You ever seen a runner that's got decent muscle mass on him? No, because
No.
running eats off muscle. And I can give you an example of that. This is way before your time, but I
Mm.
know you'll know who I'm talking about. Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
when he did Conan the Barbarian, and you can look this up, and I almost guarantee you'll find it.
Yeah.
He weighed, I can't remember his exact weight, like 235 pounds. I think he just come off winning the Olympia. He got the role for the movie. They wanted him to be at 215 for the movie. They said he was too big. You know what his coach made him do? Run 3 miles every morning fasted and
Yeah.
burn the muscle. Proof, case in point right there. And that was, in the 70s and early 80s. They knew it
Yeah.
then. So there's
No.
there's always a better fix, a more logical fix. And as you say again, pulling the lever sometimes and upping a dose is not always the best fix.
Yeah.
I have a big
Well,
problem with that.
no, I'll give you like even a great example. Like I made a post about it today. I was back home for the holidays, like just with with my parents not doing much. I had some time off work, so I went home back to New York. Same amount of Retta. I was actually on more Retta for a couple. I was on like 3 or 4 milligrams, just sitting like right there, just on Retta. Food noise, cravings through the roof. Because what are you doing? You're sitting around. There's a bunch of holiday food around. There's cookies. There's all the you're not in your normal routine. You're not busy. You're not working. So, your mind's in relax mode. You're looking at food. Everything's not dialed in. You know what I mean? Fast forward 4 to 6 weeks later, the average person, oh, I'm just gonna, not understanding how this titration works and how long it takes for that food noise suppression and like cravings to actually come down. Like, oh, I'm gonna ump it to like 6 milligrams or something like that. I actually dropped it because I realized like I'm trying to, put on some muscle mass right now. So I dropped it down to a milligram. No food noise, appetite suppression's fine. I can still eat all my meals, stuff like that. But it felt like I did up it. But the only difference was more busy, living the lifestyle now. You know what I mean? Not focused
You
on
got
it.
back. See, I equate that to mental. You got
Yeah,
back in your normal environment, normal routine. Your
Yep.
body is adjusted to what you normally live 7 days a week. Well, just like me for Christmas, I went to my parents' house 3 hours from where we drove. Me and my family drove up there for the weekend.
Hmm.
Now, this is the time of year that I let myself relax a little bit and eat a little off my meal plan because I stay meal plan 95% of the time year round.
Yeah.
My meals are the same meals every day, 7 days a week. They very rarely ever change. Christmas time, this time of the year, I kind of relax a little bit. Try to live like a normal, semi-normal food life.
Yeah.
But you go up there, just like in your case, went to my parents' house for the weekend, go spend our Christmas weekend with them, and stayed hungry all the time. Even eating my food, eating my meals, taking the red, I stayed hungry all the time.
Yeah.
Go back home. I was on vacation. Come back home 4 days later, got back in my normal routine, back in the gym, up at the same time every morning, do my little bit of cardio or whatever I was doing that morning, eat my breakfast, watch my Netflix when I just have my alone time in the mornings.
Yep.
Everything even back out. It's your environment. And I don't care what anybody says, you'll never convince me it's not the environment because
100%.
the
100%.
your environment is just like the people you choose to hang out with.
Yeah.
You hang with the wrong crowd, you're going to be the wrong crowd. If you hang out with the right crowd, you're going to be the right crowd in yourself. What's that old saying? You can't live like the eagle would fly with buzzards.
Yeah.
I mean that's insane from back in the '70s. It's and it's true. If you live your life a certain way and you dive off into something else or change your environment, your body's going to adapt to that.
Yeah.
The body and the brain will adapt to anything, and they're going to go with what's the easiest to go with. And I firmly believe environment has a big deal for anybody's weight loss, transformations, muscle building, anything. Your education. I mean, just how you live and breathe. Your environment dictates all of that, and I'll never believe otherwise.
100%.
So
And yeah,
that's just my rant.
no, I couldn't agree more. Even and I think people have to realize too, it might take a day or two to transition back into your routine, but once you're back in it, you might have those cravings and stuff. And like people gotta understand, some hunger and food noise is okay. Like you just gotta
Yep,
sit through it. Once you realize you can sit through it and train yourself, a lot of times it lasts for 10 to 15 minutes. If you focus on doing something else, you get back in, your routine, go to the gym, go live your daily life. But the thing is, you need that structure in place first of all, because I remember
exactly.
even the transition for me for like high school when I was like losing all this weight to like the college environment. Like a lot of the when I realized I moved out to my like college apartment for the first year, like freshman year of college, because I was still in that weight loss like transition period. A lot of that stuff went away because I wasn't seeing like that food wasn't around. Like, my parents had like a it wasn't a great food environment. There was, snacks and random stuff around, but when that's not even in your like line of sight and you have enough willpower to like, when you're out, you pick your meals or you're going to dining hall, you're going to load up on protein and like, whole
Yep,
foods in general. When you can do that and not see all the extra garbage like that, you're going to consume like that, a lot of the times I just got to tell people you gotta clear out your food environment, switch the environment, whatever you have to do to get yourself in that state, because that mental like chatter that you get and that like mental energy you're wasting on like just fighting off all that stuff, sometimes the environment change is the only thing that's going to work for a lot of people.
I 100% agree because I tell my clients all the time when they first come to me, or if they come back or they stay for a long time, if you can get past the first 6 to 8 weeks of the cravings, you've
Yeah.
mastered it because you've created a new habit, you've created a new way of life for yourself. Now, with that said, and I do this used to do this myself. I don't do it anymore because I've been doing this for 10 years. I've learned I
Yeah.
know what I can and can't eat, but I know what I'm supposed to not eat. But I know the right time to eat something that's not healthy for me, like a candy bar. If I get a craving for a candy bar, I will fight it off until I need it, which is
Yeah.
usually after leg day or back day. Yeah,
Yes.
it's not the best carb, but it serves a purpose for me in the off season. Now, if I'm in prep for a show,
It's
I don't
not
care
happening.
how bad I need it. That shit ain't happening. But
Yeah.
what I tell my clients, I said, okay, if you want, let's say you want a Snickers bar, just use
Mm-hmm.
that for reference. Most people like Snickers bars.
Yep.
Go to the store, buy a Snickers bar, cut it in half. Put the half you cut in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer. Eat the other half. Right then, eat it. I said, that'll satisfy your craving, whatever it is. I said, because sugar cravings is usually your body telling you it needs something,
Yeah.
or your electrolytes are imbalanced. They said, why freeze the other half? I said, because within a day or two, you're going to have it again because you got to figure out what's causing that. You and
Yes.
I got to sit
I
down and
agree.
talk about it, or you've got to figure out yourself. And most of them can figure out on their own because they realize it's not the sugar they're craving. It's just the nutrition they're craving. I
Yes.
said, there's other
Yeah.
things you can eat that besides that sugar candy bar, but your body craving sugar is your body yelling for help that it needs something. You got to figure out what that something is. I said, you can't eat a frozen candy bar. So you're going to find something to put in its place. And 9 times out of 10, most of them will find some form of fruit
Fruit.
and
Yep.
or a electrolyte drink that has a sweet flavor to it without the sugar. I said,
Hmm.
it's a mental thing. Your body doesn't, the human body is not designed to process sugar
Hmm.
unless it's natural sugar,
Yeah.
you know,
Fructose. Yep.
cane sugar, that kind of stuff. Your body can process that. Aspartame, man-made sugar, your body don't do it that shit. It has nothing to do with it. It just gets rid of it.
Yeah.
I said it's a dopamine effect. All it is. It's all it is. It's just it's something to pacify your dopamine. That's all it is. It's a rush.
Hmm.
I said there are 3 dozen fruits you can eat, get that same taste, same effect, and it's a natural sugar, and your body can process that properly.
Yeah.
I said so. Pick you 3 fruits, keep them on hand, keep the candy bar frozen in the freezer. I said, once you've broken that habit and that cycle, you'll forget the candy bars. I had a lady call me the other day. She said, hey, remember that? She trained with me like 2 years ago. She said, remember my candy bar cut in half? I said, yeah. She said, I found it yesterday. What? Been in her freezer for 2 freaking years. She forgot it was there. She's still eating. She had trained me almost 2 years. She's still eating the exact same way she was then when she left.
That's
She's
amazing.
adapted and changed her eating habits, as time's going on because she's gotten stronger in the gym. She's
Yep.
got where she want to be maintaining her weight. So it's natural she's changed her nutrition a little bit.
Hmm.
But she learned how to read. She learned how to eat. See, I haven't had a candy bar since that day almost 2 years ago. I said, well, that's your fault. I've had a couple candy bars since then. I said, but good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But it's all about habit change. And I agree the environment drives that
Yep.
because even as strict as I eat, when I go to family get-togethers and family Christmases and birthday parties, I crave the weirdest shit. And one of the weirdest things I crave is cake.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I've never been a big cake eater. I get one cake a year. It ain't from birthday. It's on my shows. My wife is a custom cake baker as well. My
Oh,
last
wow.
cake weighed over 15 pounds. Yeah, it was about yay tall, weighed a little 15 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, her cakes are kind of notorious in the circuit I run for bodybuilding. People are like, oh
Hmm.
man, people buy them all the time. But and I eat that cake, and I eat that cake over a week's time, and I love it. But that's the only time I get that. But for some reason, when my environment changes, like we said,
Yeah.
crave the weirdest shit. I don't know why. I have yet to figure out why, but I've learned how to fight those cravings off.
Yeah. And
People got to understand that you can't. If you have a craving, there's nothing saying you can't give into it once in a while. But that's
hmm
where moderation comes in. I tell all my clients that.
Yeah.
They'll call me. I'm wanting a McDonald's cheeseburger. So get a fucking cheeseburger. When's the last time you had a cheat meal? It's been 2 months. Go get a cheeseburger.
Yeah. No, there's a
And
time and
sometimes that
place
dude,
for all of it.
sometimes that refeed is what you need. Probably it's your body's way
Yeah.
of telling you, give me something crappy. And most of the time, they'll start losing weight again.
Yeah.
And
No, it happens, especially in, when you've been in a deficit for so long or any of that. But I even noticed like you have to work in, like you were saying, pick 2 or 3 fruits. Like I think my go-to normally is that I've just like worked in is like, plain like non-fat Greek yogurt, and then I'll throw some like fruit or like even mix like if I want something sweeter, I'll mix like some protein powder in there with like fruit with it.
yep,
And you'll notice like those things that you crave on those random times where your nutrition's all out of whack, you realize after you eat that, you don't even want to think about like that, especially with like in general, when your nutrition's on point and you're adding in fruit that you get those antioxidants in, you're getting that natural sugar in, you don't even
yep.
think about it. And that's the state. That's really when your body's operating, fully. It's got all your nutrients, all your vitamins, all your minerals in. It doesn't want any of that crap. But when you start to
And
deviate, maybe you skip a couple meals, start to get really hungry, like you work yourself in such a deep deficit. Sometimes you need something, but it can't be every week or every
you,
2 weeks. It needs to be spaced
I'm a
out.
I'm a firm believer in a shitty refeed sometimes
Yeah.
because sometimes you need it. I mean, you run like you just said, you run in a deficit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Eventually, you're going to stop losing weight. You're going to stall.
Oh,
There's 2 ways to fix that. And one, we both agree is not the best option is up your dose of Predatrutide or whatever you're on for that particular moment in time. And I don't agree with that always. Pick one meal out of one day and make it the crappiest meal you can think of and
yeah.
eat it. It's going to do 2 things, probably 3. it's more than likely to reset your metabolism, which I believe, and people say it don't. I believe it does.
Yeah.
You're going to regret it when you're done. You're not going to do it again because you're going to feel like total shit.
Hmm.
And the third thing is, you're not going to want to do it again. I mean,
Yeah.
it's because you've eaten the right way for so long, your body's like, stop doing this to me. I'll cooperate for a little while. And then
Hmm.
you learn not to eat that really, really bad meal. You eat one that's maybe not so bad, but not so good either. Like for me, my go-to is every Saturday in the off season, I have a 1 pound double meat cheeseburger with cheese, mayonnaise, and a half a bag of Checkers French fries.
Yeah.
I love Checkers French fries. I have that every Saturday in a package of Pop Tarts without fail.
Yeah.
But I take a meal out for that day, put that in place of it, and it's not terrible for me because I still use lean ground meat
Yeah.
and Angus. Angus. I use real Angus beef,
Hmm.
but it's not what I normally eat. My ground chicken and my jasmine rice and my lean beef at night. It's just enough to keep things going. Again, that's also I'm trying to gain a little bit of weight, but not gain a
Yeah.
bunch of weight, the
Right.
right kind of weight, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you've probably learned this just as well as I have. Teach it to people. Timing is everything.
Yes.
Timing is everything. And peptides, Lord of mercy, we both know some peptides have the most critical time frame in the world.
Hmm.
You know, Retta's not one of them, but growth,
That
AOD
CJC
is one of
IPA when
them.
you're taking it.
Yes, MOTS-C has a specific
Yeah.
time. NAD has a not a specific time, but a better time.
But yeah.
And that's something else that people need to learn is the timing of these things. I mean, I just went through this with a lady 2 weeks ago, a local lady that
Yeah.
messaged me about it, and she said, "I want to take this." Well, she'd done the research a little. I give her that. She looked at what she wanted to take. She had picked three, and she was.
Nice.
I said, "Okay, we're good with that, but let's start here first." And she said, "Well, I can just take them this." I said, "No, you can't." I said, "You cannot take that growth peptide anytime you want. It has
Hmm.
timing involved. You need to be fasted on both ends." She went, "What do you mean?" I went, "We need to have a talk." So I
Yeah.
actually went to her house and just laid everything on the table on my phone and said, "Read all this when you're done, then we'll talk." Unbeknownst to me, she already bought everything. And I went, "Wow, girl, we gotta put the brakes on
Slow
this."
down. Yeah.
But she's not new to nutrition. She's done this before. She just knew to
Yep.
peptides. So she
Okay.
had a grasp of what once I broke it down and explained it to her, she's okay, this makes sense now. And she's
Yeah.
doing great. She was very smart about it. She had already done her own research. She had already figured out where she wanted her general dosing range. She just wanted somebody to help dial it in.
Program it in. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's doing great.
Yeah.
But
No, that's awesome. I think there's so many aspects of like that's why you got to research. Like I said, I wouldn't, even look at it. I wouldn't even consider buying a peptide until I knew everything around it. Like you said, like timing is one of the most missed things ever, especially with the growth hormone peptides. But even like like I see some people like even, there's random peptides out there like Semax and they're taking it like late in the afternoon. It's like, yeah, you can't sleep for a reason because, you're stimulated as hell. Like there's a lot of peptides that do that. Or like a
I could have
MOTS-C.
insomnia.
Yeah, but no, it's like, oh, my sleep is terrible this week. And I was like, well, what did you add in the last 2 weeks? And they're like, oh, I've been doing, MOTS-C at 8 p.m. before my workout. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a reason like you can't sleep.
Yeah.
I've seen the craziest like things overall. And it's like, you can
The
kind
the
of common
worst
sense it, but
the
you see
worst
some
one I've
crazy
seen
stuff.
was about 3 months ago. A guy messaged me. He said, "Man," he said, I've started this. I've researched this to death, and I'm doing this, this, and this." And he wasn't a lot. He was on, I think, Retta. He chose Cimarella for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway, he chose Cimarella.
Yeah.
And then I said, "You shouldn't be not sleeping on those." I mean, I said the Cimarella is supposed to help you sleep. I
Yeah.
mean,
A lot of them.
it's a
Yeah.
recovery. That's what it's designed for. And he goes, "Oh, well, I forgot about these two, NAD and MOTS-C." I said, "Well, those, if you take them in the morning like you're supposed to, they shouldn't affect it. I mean, that's 14 hours later before you go to bed." He said, "In the morning?" I said, "Yeah." He
Yeah.
goes, "Dude, I literally take the MOTS-C and NAD together right before I go to bed." I said, "There's your problem, dude." Same thing. He was taking 5 milligrams of MOTS-C at night and 100 milligrams of NAD
Yeah.
at
That
the same time. It couldn't figure out
you're
why I couldn't sleep.
you're not gonna be able to sleep for 2 nights after that if you take it like
I
right at
said, "Dude,
bedtime.
stop." I said, "Quit it."
Yeah.
I said, "How did you read everything there's to read about this and you missed one of the most important parts
Yeah.
as far as timing goes?" He said, "I've never heard about timing and peptides, period." I
Mhm.
said, how you don't want to take some real? He said, I just take it all at night. I said, you got lucky on two of them.
Yeah.
You're not so lucky on the other two.
No,
But
that's one of the common missed ones. Is timing's like always the last thing people think of. I was so shocked how many people didn't know you have to take it in a fasted state for the growth hormone peptides, and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense
and
why I
I
can't
don't,
sleep," or a lot of the times that'll just
huh.
disrupt the process in general.
And you again, you've probably seen this and talked about this many times before,
Yeah,
but they talk about, well, I didn't get the results I should have got. When are you taking it? Well, whenever. No, this is not a whenever. There's a specific time you have to take this stuff. So it's a pulse. The
yeah,
growth hormone is pulsed first thing in the morning, maybe midday, depending on your when your meals fall. I
yeah,
said at night before you go to bed. I said there's a reason for that because that's when your body recovers and grows and repairs itself.
yep,
That's what growth hormone is designed by nature to do. You know, I got this huge debate in another group a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, about growth hormone peptides versus HGH. I said the HGH, if you're willing to take that stuff and take the risk, is way superior to growth hormone because it's
yeah,
exogenous. It replaces everything. It's always there.
yeah.
This dude's like, no, it's not. It doesn't matter. Like, it does matter. I mean, you
Does
can't, there's no point in taking both at the same time.
Yeah. Oh,
I
I see
mean,
it all the time where people are like, "Oh yeah,
it's
I'm
crazy.
taking HGH with testosterone, and which one like is CJC okay?" I was like, "You're wasting your money first of all, because you can only stimulate up to a natural point of growth hormone in general, but one's a completely different pathway. You have to be your system's only gonna
Yep.
pulse and spike as much GH as it thinks it needs, and then you're
And,
hitting it with
and,
an exogenous GH."
and here's the strange part. You probably know about HGH. And I know this because I've
Yeah.
lived in the bodybuilding world and I know people that use it. And I've asked questions about
Yeah.
it. HGH, is actually not a steroid. It's not
Yeah.
considered a
It's
steroid.
technically it's a peptide
It's
technically.
peptide.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the cool thing about HGH. If you probably already know this, I'm sure you do. You've
Yeah.
researched the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
HGH can be run two ways. It can be run for muscle growth or fat loss. Do you know what the difference is?
Not I
Food
probably
timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food timing. If you're going to fat loss, you take it fasted
Fasted.
and fasted. If you're going to weight gain, you take it in the morning, fasted, and then or eat, and then you take it fasted at night. You get the best of both ends of it. HGH can run either way. It can be muscle growth or fat loss. That's
Mm-hmm.
where AOD comes from. AOD is the last, 14 fragments
Yeah.
of the
Yep.
growth hormone.
Yep.
It's the fat loss part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because people know that,
Yep.
but they don't understand the time of a peptide. And it's the exact same thing. Well, not
Yeah.
the exact same thing, but it's the same principle, I should say.
No. No, for
And
sure.
it's
I think there
crazy.
needs to be like I think everybody we already have this like a mental checklist of everything we go through that we need to know about the peptide of general structure of where it fits in, right? Like
Yep.
timing, dosage, what mechanisms it go past. But like that's not like something newbies don't think of that. They're like, "Oh, what is it? What is it supposed to do?" And that's all they care about. And then it's like, "Okay, and then how do I reconstitute it? What's the dose?" And then they're like ready to go and they'll take it whenever they want. There almost needs
And
to
have
be
no
you need to like we said you need to research, but also like I think there just needs to be either like you said in you create a notes app, even type it out, like just see a mental checklist of, hey, did I look at the timing of this thing, did I look at the dosage of this thing, did I look at all the side effects, because you have to be I always say it, when you're doing your research protocols and everything like that, you have to be very aware of your biofeedback or it's not going to go well, because in
yep.
general you need to know when things start shifting, and is it a
Mm.
correlation with your lifestyle or is it a correlation with the peptide? Because you can get sick randomly, and 99% of the time it's not going to be the peptide, but that's the first thing people correlate it to in general. Or you start getting side effects, you hold more water, you might not be gaining weight. You might have just introduced the GH peptide and your carbohydrates are high. You know what I mean? Like that, all that stuff is so important, and
And
it's so overlooked.
you just mentioned a couple things. One thing we touched on briefly a while ago was about blood work.
Yeah.
Blood work's very important, especially on a growth hormone. Any kind of IGF-1. Those things affect your prolactin, your cortisol levels, your
Hmm.
water weight. They affect a lot of things that should be checked. But you bring up the water weight part. The standard for growth hormone peptides, the water weight, they say is 2 to 3 days, maybe a week.
Yeah.
Well, I'm living proof that that's not true
Hmm.
because I'm almost 10 weeks, a little over 10 weeks in, and I got quite a bit of water on me
Yeah.
because it affects everybody differently. And I
Yeah.
drink 2 gallons of water a day. I mean, I drink 2 scoops of electrolytes every day, 2 gallons of water a day. I've got this shit dialed in, but it just affects everybody differently. But
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it right now because it's off season. I'm not really concerned about the way I look. I am
Yeah.
and I'm not, you know. But all that's got to be considered. People just blows my mind like it does yours that they don't even think about that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
they read what I call the highlights, and okay,
Yeah.
I'm taking that. Okay, you even know what shit you're doing.
I
I
see the
understand
same.
everybody's got to learn. What
Yeah.
what gets me is the people that don't ask questions. I
Yep.
can answer. I'd rather answer 500 questions that
Hmm.
they may think seem silly versus somebody that says, "Give me the dose, I'm gonna take it. I don't care what you got to say. Just I'm gonna stick myself." I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that person. I don't be responsible for that person. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't. I'll tell you. Okay, here, Google this. Leave me alone. But
Hmm.
I'll answer. I'm like you. I'll answer. I've seen you answer 1,000 questions a week, dude, in your damn school group. I've seen it.
Yeah.
It just
I try to even like reply to like every single one. Normally the notifications are literally stacked. I go to that new
oh
comment thing and
god.
like it like but it takes me, it takes me to for you to answer that question, I could save you 2 or 3 weeks of you trying to figure out what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? Like, but you asking the question is the most important part in general, right? If somebody know like simple like really simple stuff that's like, it may seem dumb to you and me, but like for them, like if they're new to the space, I'm glad they're at least in a community looking at the posts, scrolling through, because that
Oh
means they're
no.
trying. You know what I mean?
I am very happy with that. I just
Yeah.
went with that right before we got on this phone call a while ago with
Hmm.
a lady in the group. She posted what she had in her hand. This is what I got. It was water and Retta. She said, I need help with this before I touch this. I've bought it. I've did a little bit of research. I need help.
Yeah.
So I sent her a DM. I said, look, what do you need to know? Have you been on one GLP before? She'd been on, I can't remember what she told me now, Manjaro, I think.
Yeah.
And she said, it's been a couple of years. She said, I have an idea. She said, but this one's new to me. Please help me. She said, this is what I found so far. When she found, I said, well, man, you're on a very good start.
Yeah.
She said, do you mind helping me? I said, no, I do not. I'd rather you ask questions than just go, huh, what the hell? That's
Yeah.
just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah. I hope.
questions I can take. Being a smart ass, I can't.
No, for sure. I think we can probably wrap it here, but I think the main takeaway
Yeah.
from everything we talked about in general is just you have to like if you're gonna hop into the research space or peptides in general, first thing, always do your research and Google something. You know what I mean? Read
Yes.
read at least 2 to 3 posts, 2 to 3 articles. There's now, especially it's the thing that my theory about the whole internet is if you want to learn something at this point, we're at such an accelerated rate of like the information available to you, even like college stuff. Like half the stuff, like I'm a software engineer full time. You can learn more how to do something within 15 minutes now than you could an entire semester of college if you wanted to do that thing. Like even when I was going to school, like that's the
Yep.
same thing with peptides overall. Like you can, if you have a question and that's when the groups really come into play. And it's great people like, you're out there. There's so many good. We talked about JT, shout out to them, Tyler, Hacksmith, all of them.
Yep.
There's groups out there where you can find the stuff. And then at that point too, if you're, a complete newbie, like I even went the coaching route at one point when I was, in like a weird maintenance phase because you learn so much about the nutrition side. Like there's people out there to help you. So definitely shout out your stuff too, because people are out there looking for, coaches if they don't know about the nutrition side, weightlifting. Like there's so much to learn and you can do it all through Google, but it's always nice to have somebody to refer back to.
Yep. Well, my website is technutrition.com. It's small again, but
Yeah.
it's mine. My main page on
Love it.
TikTok is Tac Nutrition. I have Pep 1 and Pep 3 because Pep 2 took a dirt nap, so to
Yeah.
speak. Um, I have Instagram, Tac Nutrition, but I'm not there very much. I forget I have it. I don't really like Instagram. I have a Facebook
Mhm.
page. My main page is Tac Nutrition on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's the only one on Facebook. It's actually restricted right now for some damn reason. I can't figure out
Hmm.
why, but it's
All of
restricted
them
right
get it.
now. I'm
All-
not sure. And I don't even post anything peptide on it hardly. It's just some reason it's not being pushed out. I don't know why.
Yeah.
This new algorithm with TikTok's got everything screwed up.
Oh yeah, you can't even see. I don't know what's going on the last 2 days. You can't even see your views. What's going on with that
I
stuff?
can't see anything. I posted 3 videos and it's a big donut on both. I was like,
That
I
my,
know if he, I know
my
somebody's watched them.
mine is too, but I have like 45 likes and 0 views somehow. So I don't know how
I don't
that
get
works
that.
out. Yeah, we'll
Don't
see.
either.
But no, this was amazing. I appreciate you sharing everything from that aspect because it doesn't. people don't realize until you talk to somebody like one on one, like all these like little things that we like just mentioned in our conversation that they wouldn't even have thought of in general. So it was
Well, my
yeah.
problem is I can talk to a person like this all day long. I can't talk to just a camera like this all day long. That's my
Yeah,
problem.
well, same thing with me. That's why like sometimes the shorter videos just like to get the point across and stuff, and that's why like the posts I can go on a